Hi everyone, my name is Sydney Hickman, and tonight we are going to talk about the modern theorist and influential psychologist Albert Bandura and his social cognitive theory. First, we're going to look into the life of Bandura and kind of see where his family and education, where it all started, and what drove him to pursue the career that he wanted. First, looking at his family, Albert Bandura was born on December 4th in 1925 in a small town called Bandura in Alberta, Canada. He was the youngest boy of 6 children, and his parents were immigrants from Eastern Europe, specifically Poland and Ukraine. So, at an early age, Albert Bandura was really fascinated with education and the human psychology aspect. He began his initial education in the small town of Bandura and that school district. He went to Bandura High School, and after graduation, he decided to continue his education at the University of British Columbia. He graduated college in 1949 with the Bulacan Award in Psychology. However, after having his bachelor degree, Bandura decided that he wanted to pursue his master's in psychology, where he attended the University of Iowa, graduating in 1951 with his master's, and he also received his PhD in clinical psychology at the University of Iowa in 1952. Next, we're going to dive right into the social cognitive theory and kind of learn what it's all about and kind of give a little bit more insight. So the definition of the social cognitive theory is described as the influence of individual experiences, the action of others, and environmental factors on individual health behaviors. It provides opportunities for social support through instilling expectations, self-efficacy, and using observational learning and other reinforcements to achieve the desired behavior of an individual or student. While on the road to creating the social cognitive theory, Bandura was influenced by 3 psychologists, Clark L. Hull, Kenneth Spence, and Neil E. Miller. Clark Hull and Kenneth Spence were both American psychologists. Neil E. Miller was also an American psychologist, but he focused more on experimental psychology. So all 3 of these men had ties to the social learning theory, which Bandura derived his cognitive theory and kind of expanded on. Looking into some implications of the theory and where it's at today in society, you look at 21st century classrooms, and this theory is seen by educators applying and working with students on human agency, self-regulation, self-efficacy. These 3 really play an essential role in having a successful classroom because it allows teachers to communicate with students effectively, and if they do have a student they just can't break through, it really helps them apply and think critically on what they can do to break through to that student and achieve the behavior and success that they're wanting from that individual. In my future classroom, I think I can see myself applying the social cognitive theory by implementing observational learning, where I myself would lead by example with behaviors and teaching styles to my students, but also having them know that they're also taking a role in observational learning because their peers are looking at them, and behaviors and study habits really just spread through their friends. Then I would also establish expectations with my students, having kind of that open line of communication, but also some honesty. I really think would help develop some respect with my future high school students. So if they know what I'm expecting from them, and they'll get that respect as long as they return it with behavior and just acting appropriately. Lastly, I would have proper reinforcements in my classroom. Some might think that when a student is acting out, the first thing to do is to punish them. However, there are other steps that you can take to gain that desired behavior through reinforcements. So kind of just working with each student or working with a student who's struggling and finding what works for them and finding what way to break through will speak to them the most. Next, we're going to look into the criticisms of the social cognitive theory. I think with any theory or really anything in life, there's going to be some criticisms, and not every individual or group is going to agree. Some think that there are improvements that could be made, or they could elaborate more in areas. So specifically during my research on the social cognitive theory, I found 4 points that really stuck out to me that people thought the theory could have done differently. First, the first criticism was that it assumed changes in the environment will automatically lead to changes in the person. Just because you change one aspect of an individual's environment doesn't mean there are automatic changes. That's something that's going to take a little bit of time and continued environmental changes. Next, the social cognitive theory is based on the dynamic relationship between person, behavior, and environment. It's really just assuming that that dynamic relationship exists, but there could be instances where it doesn't, or the 3 aren't there, it's only 2. We really don't know. It varies by individual. Next, it puts focus on the process of learning, and it doesn't investigate what might influence behaviors outside of experience. Lastly, it doesn't quite fully dive into the emotion or motivation of individuals and seeing what emotional experiences drive that individual's behavior, or what motivates them to be successful, or what causes that lack of motivation. That is all I have for my presentation on Albert Bandura and the social cognitive theory. I want to say thank you for all of your time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My last slide just touches on my references.